Alrighty, so we're going to have a look at percentage 2A tables. Now, these are the way that we prove association. So I'm going to make that really clear. For categorical data, the way we tell any association is analyzed using percentage 2A tables. Okay, so I just want to make that really clear, is that when we're dealing with categories instead of numbers, this is how we deal with it. And we can see where the categories are. We've got Spider-Man, Batman, Green Lantern, the Hulk, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and males and females, right? These are categories. Yes, these numbers are numerical, but what are they actually measuring? They're measuring categories. So it says, using a spreadsheet, produce an appropriately percentage 2A table so that an analysis of the effect of gender and choice of superhero can be carried out. Well, if I'm honest, I don't actually want to do it in spreadsheet. I'm happy to do it by hand, and I think that it is not too hard to do it by hand. So step one in making a percentage 2A table is making a regular 2A table. So let's just go through and copy the information we already have. You'll notice I've turned males and females from rows into columns. We'll go through why I did that in a second. But I can just copy down the data and work out the marginal totals. And then I could add those up to get the total. And then I could add those up. But I can also add across to get 7, 21, 2, 7, 3, 10, 20. And then I can add down. Alrighty. So you can see I've just worked out all my totals. So now what we want to do is turn this into a percentage comparison. Okay? And I'm going to be looking at, as my sort of comparing points, is going to be looking at the Hulk and Captain America. Because currently it looks like that basically, 2 to 1, 4 to 3, pretty much the same number of males likes the Hulk as the females do. So there's no real difference there. Whereas the ones that should have a bigger difference would probably be like Batman, Iron Man, and Spider-Man, where there's definitely leaning one way versus the other. But the thing which raw numbers don't take into consideration is the population size. So since I believe that gender might have an effect, that gender has an association on which superhero you might like, or at least this data may show that, the best way to sort of look at it isn't going to be by looking at the raw numbers. We need to turn them into percentages. So what we do is when we do that, we work out which variable, in this case I think gender is the explanatory variable, which means that I think it's the independent variable. It explains the change. And I think that the superhero is the response variable, then what that means is that I'm going to carry my percentages downwards, meaning that it's going to be calculated using these totals. And what that means is that when we do our percentage 2A table, that there's only going to be one total row, and it's going to be the total at the bottom here. So we're going to keep this total one, and this column's going to disappear. So you can kind of see here, I've set up my table, my percentage 2A table, but without the total for the genres. Instead, I've only got a total row for the total males and the total females. Alrighty, so let's calculate all of the numbers that go in here. So to work out the number that goes here, I look at how many males there were, 1, divide it by how many men there were in total, 39, and I times it by 100 to work out what percentage of males liked this. For the females for Spider-Man, I'm going to take the number of people who liked Spider-Man who were female and divide it by the total number of females, in this case 31. Alrighty, and now I can start working out these percentages. You'll notice for the Batman, for males, 7 of them out of 39 liked Batman, whereas for the females, 14 out of the 31 liked Batman. And we can go through and calculate all of these. As I'm going to calculate these, you'll see I've now put all my working out for it. I'm going to work vertically, because that way I don't have to change too much on my calculator, I just need to change the number. And I'm going to round each of these to no decimal places, so just to the nearest percentage. Alrighty, so I've worked out all of the totals. You do not need to check that all of these percentages add up to 100. However, if you do, you should find that it gets close to 100. It doesn't actually have to get exactly to 100, and the reason that is because of rounding errors. If you've rounded too many of them up or too many of them down, it's not your fault. You'll be rounding correctly. It just turns out that sometimes the total will be wrong, not because it's actually wrong, but it should always be 100% at the bottom. Alrighty, let me finish up the females now. Alrighty, so there you go. There is my completed percentage 2A table. Now, it's a little bit difficult to look at, so I'm just going to recopy it out and get rid of all of the working out, just because it's a little bit hard to look at. Alright, so this is our actual completed percentage 2A table. You can see they're exactly the same as this one. It's just that I have now put it in percentages. Okay, so let's go back to the original table just for a second and sort of like see what our hypotheses might be. So for example, we can see that just about the same number of men like the Hulk as females do. There's only one difference. However, based on a numerical standpoint, 4 is bigger than 3. So we would expect that males like the Hulk better than females. But when we look at the percentages, it's actually 10% each. And this is because, although there are more boys who like the Hulk than girls, there are just more boys than girls. So comparing the raw number doesn't make sense. Let's have a look as well at something like Batman. Now here, well, there are 14 females and 7 males. That's 2 times the number of girls who like Batman than males. Alrighty, so that's twice the number. So we'd expect the percentage to be twice the number. But it's not twice the number. It's in fact more than twice the number. Double of 18 is 36, yet the percentage is 45. Why? Because double the raw score doesn't mean double the answer, because there are more boys than girls. So that means since there are so few girls, if there's heaps of girls who like something, it's going to be a very high percentage. And in fact, 45% of the females surveyed preferred Batman. So you can really see the power of using percentages instead of using the raw numbers. You get a much clearer idea. You know, Iron Man for males versus females. Well, for this one here, the males are dominating. 3 times as many. 3 times 5 is 15. So there's 3 times as many men who prefer Iron Man over the women. Okay? So would we expect it to be 3 times bigger? Well, not quite. It's close, but not exactly. 3 times 60 is 48, and yet the percentage is only 38%. So you can kind of see that using raw scores just doesn't work for this sort of analysis. Alrighty, so let's actually write down some analysis now. So let's look at the 2 most popular superheroes. So we can do it either way, but you can see 21 and 20, the top 2 are Batman and Iron Man. So let me unhighlight Hulk for a second. Okay, so let's make a point. Well, whenever you're wanting to make a point, you need to say something, and the other thing is you need to give some evidence. So don't just say something for the sake of saying something. You need to say an actual figure. You can say the most popular superhero was Batman. Now I want to give some evidence. With 45% of females preferring him over any other superhero. All right. Iron Man was the second most popular, with 20 students choosing him. Right, we can see that from up here. 20 students, 20 people preferring him. With 38% of the men choosing him. So there you can see how to actually do some data analysis. The main thing is to look for some interesting points, and then the other part is actually using some numerical data. And you can see I used a mixture here of both the raw data and percentage, whereas for this point I just used the percentage. Okay, So that's what we're looking for in this sort of analysis. And we can see that there certainly is an association between gender and which superhero you prefer. Except for the Hulk. It's pretty much even. See you in the next one. Goodbye.